find a protocol in the Southeast Asia nuclear free treaty. I'll get you the correct nomination for that treaty. I will give you some documents after this interview. And what we're trying to do there is we're trying to come up with a protocol that will bring up the five nuclear states to join that protocol. In terms of the ASEAN economic community, we are pursuing that as aggressively as we can, of course, but we are recognizing that there are areas there that we're not able to push ahead with in terms of, for example, the service areas. We can't do that without amending our constitution. In terms of the socio-cultural community, we have we're trying to get a declaration on the rights of migrant workers. That's one. In terms of, we're also trying to come up with a ratification of a biodiversity center to improve our environment in ASEAN. And thirdly, we are looking at, of course, giving more impetus to meeting the UN Development Millennium Goals. I think I will also just mention in passing, because I know you're going to ask me anyway, what the Philippine position was on the Cambodian-Thailand issue. I think the President had expressed the desire of the Philippines to be helpful in any way they can. And given that he has urged that the conflict be brought to a peaceful resolution in the spirit of ASEAN with brotherhood and in the spirit of brotherhood and solidarity. And with that, he also praised the leadership of Indonesia. So I think that about sums it all. To my recollection, it was brought up by the Cambodian Prime Minister, and there was a response on the part of the Prime Minister of Thailand. I think that's the most that I would like to say on that. I actually wouldn't. I just heard someone say that he had it awakened him. So I don't know whether that's an apt description of the situation as we have experienced it.
If I may, John, let me add a little bit of detail to that. There are parts in the agenda where different countries can bring up their own concerns. So the Thai-Cambodian border was not part of the formal agenda, but we were expecting at some point that it would be brought up, perhaps in the plenary or tomorrow in the retreat. So we were surprised that many people actually in the room were quite surprised that the Cambodian side brought it up, and it took quite a bit of their time. There were many other issues, but they spent a good amount of time talking about that. And so many of the people there were a little surprised. Meron na nagsabi, hindi ako, hindi si Secretary Rosario, nagising daw siya. But it became a little dramatic, but I think that's just the way that Prime Minister Hun Sen deliver speeches. No, afterwards there was a break, and we had our bilateral with Thailand, and then it was the turn of Thailand to speak. So they spoke on their side, their perspective on the issue. No? And after that, most of the countries, we were next. President Aquino, as Secretary of Rosario said, expressed his willingness to play any kind of role that would be helpful to both sides in resolving the issue peacefully. And most of the other countries that reacted to that also expressed the same willingness and concern that the issue be resolved in the most peaceful way possible without it escalating in any way. So somebody said Laos, in particular, urged both countries to restrain themselves in this issue, which you can imagine is a large domestic issue both in Thailand and in Cambodia. So, kumbaga parang bringing up ng dalawang bansa, nagbigay sila ng kanilang pananaw, yung ibang mga bansa na nandun, sinabi nila na hina-hina lang tayo dito, huwag natin palakahin yung issue. At willing naman kaming lahat na tumulong para hindi lumala pa yung issue. So that was the context of the discussion.
Indonesia's budget to subsidize fuel is about $10 billion per year. They're very worried about it not being enough if the trend continues. Precisely why the President of Indonesia was the one who raised it. Even in his opening speech, it occupied a very primordial role, aspect of his speech. The question that they now face is they have set aside an amount, and they know at the present trend it's not going to last. They're slowly looking at they're desperately looking for an answer. They're actually looking at our Pantawid Pasada system, which is to, instead of subsidizing everything, they will now move into direct subsidies to specific sectors, mainly their transport system. You go around Indonesia, there's a BRT system. If you see the roads in the middle, there's a special lane where buses run. So I was talking to their own minister. I was saying that they're going to try to when the money runs out, because they're sure it's going to run out, they're going to shift to specific targeted solutions. Second, they are an oil-producing country. They do produce oil. They still have oil, but they no longer have enough for their present demand, which is really why it's become more painful, because the subsidy now is not just to subsidize to subsidize a local manufacturer, but even to subsidize somebody who's importing. So the President of Indonesia and his cabinet is very, very worried about how are they going to handle it when and if they're going to run out of the money that they've set aside. One model they're looking at is to slowly allow it to pick up. As a matter of fact, they have started doing that already. They're going to start picking it up.
I think if the thrust of your question is whether we are on schedule in terms of meeting the 2015 target, I think we are. There will be some challenges there, but I think we are. Well,
Do we have the blueprint of this?
We're trying to do our part. For example, one aspect I failed to mention, which is taken up, was the master plan on connectivity. Of course, that's self-explanatory as far as the CN is concerned. We're trying to do studies on the roll-on, roll-off as a contribution to that initiative.
Thank you.
I wanted to add something about the question earlier about how did the Cambodia-Thailand situation pan out. I thought, just to correct the impression, I was not sleeping. It was foreign affairs, so it wasn't energy, so I wasn't as interested as I was in the energy side. I thought that the way it panned out was really interesting in the context that when it was Thailand's turn to speak, they did come out really friendly. They did come out very open and said the table is open for further discussions. In spite of what was said earlier, there was no real attempt to create a very aggressive stance. I think what's nice is I think the Prime Minister of Malaysia appropriately said it because he was one of the last to speak when he said that one of the themes of ASEAN is to lead the way, ASEAN to lead the way. And he thought that the resolution of this problem would be another example of how the ASEAN can lead the way. I personally felt there was a lot of goodwill and a lot of camaraderie as the discussions were going on among the leaders themselves in the discussion. As a matter of fact, even the Prime Minister of Thailand was very gracious in his address. He did say that it was in that direction. In answer to the other questions, I think what I found really interesting was the discussion on education sharing. There was a lot of discussion about how are we going to, there was a discussion on how do you bring the ASEAN citizenry closer to one another. And there were discussions about education sharing. There was a discussion on more sports. Okay. There was a discussion on the ASEAN hosting the next World Cup, which is going to be interesting, I thought. Okay, so our ASCALs better practice really hard. But there was a lot of discussion on other things of how to bring the citizenry closer to one another in arts, in sports, and even in education.
Sir Ray, pwede ko lang dagdagan ng konti yung sagot ni Secretary Almendras. No? Yung tinatanong po ninyo kanina, may sistema ang Indonesia para magbigay ng